Okay. Clicker here, and which is the button to advance since I've watched everybody have? That one. Beautiful. Do my best not to. I feel really embarrassed, actually. I've watched everybody come up, and I thought we have a very impressive group tonight, and I feel like I'm kind of the oddball out. Okay, now let's master the clicker. There we go. I'm here to talk about the green on green revolution that's currently happening. Sustainable cannabis, and a little aspect of it that I'm most particularly interested in, sustainable cannabinol. Microphone up to my face. Okay, I'll remember that too. Our history with cannabis is very long. We've been well intertwined with it. More than 4,000 years ago, we know that we've been using it medicinally, and we've got hemp cloth that dates from 8,000 BC. So the plant has changed us, and we have very much changed the plant. I always like telling this story. Even though cannabis is native to Asia, by the time Columbus got over here, it was already in the New World. So we've been carrying it around with us for a very long time. It's apparently fundamental to us being human. Cannabis is one of the most versatile plants on the planet. It can be used for just about everything. It makes paper, fiber, cloth. It can be used as substitute plastics, that's bouncing, medicine, etc. I'm just going to set that down. Most of the discussion on sustainable cannabis is actually referring to hemp. Hemp is the non-psychoactive form of cannabis. It's more sustainable than paper, wood, fiber, etc. It's healthy for the soil. It requires less water, requires less fertilizer and pesticides, etc. And it actually returns the soil to a better condition than if it hadn't been growing in it. We also have heard quite a bit recently about cannabis, I would say, sort of non-sustainability in the environment. Because of the illicit production, primarily most of the cannabis in the country is illicitly produced. And when it's illicitly produced and outside, it tends to do a great deal of environmental damage. I note last year we had 20,000 cannabis plants pulled off a national forest land in Washington State. There's one particularly egregious site out in Yakima that required $15,000 per acre to restore the land. And we're also hearing quite a bit right now on the non-sustainable production of cannabis with indoor production. It's not only is it incredibly wasteful in terms of its energy consumption with fans, filters, and everything all requiring electricity, etc. It's also a very unhealthy environment. Most cannabis grows have unacceptable levels of molds and fungus, and so it's just a completely mess. Under 502, literally within the last couple of days, they are making the decision that we'll be allowed to grow cannabis in kind of outdoor situations. We will be allowed to grow them most certainly in greenhouses. These will be rigid wall greenhouses that you'll be able to pull back the roofs. And there's discussion about whether they're going to allow growing in fields, open fields. And all of these modes of production are also going to encourage new phenotypes. Part of the problem is this: for cannabis to produce medicinal or recreational flowers, we need to have less than 12 hours of light of day in order to generally induce the flowering. And we need to have anywhere from, say, 8 to 12 to 16 weeks of frost-free temperature thereafter in order to produce the product. And as you can see, Washington State, we have some problems with producing it properly in fields. We don't reach that 12-12 sometime until late September, and obviously we're not going to get our frost-free period to produce it. So I-502 will be very much encouraging of new phenotypes within cannabis production, and I'm very excited about that. Okay. Most of the discussion on cannabis sustainability has also been involved around THC. THC is the most talked about cannabinoid medicinal component found within marijuana, but actually there is another more important cannabinoid for medicinal purposes. It's called cannabinol, CBD. And I love this chart here, because if you were looking at the medicinal effects of marijuana, you'll note the big blue at the top, CBD, and so actually most of the medicinal effects from cannabis do come from CBD. Once again, taking a look in the center thing here, CBD, as you can see, does everything from reduce pain to reduce anxiety, to stimulate the autoimmune system, etc. The medicinal value of cannabis is not really in question anymore for the serious scientist. Big Pharma has taken the plunge and has patented cannabis and cannabinoids for their anti-tumoric properties, etc. And the federal government has patented cannabis for its anti-inflammatory and neuroprotectant properties, kind of particularly annoying when another branch of the federal government denies any medicinal values within cannabis at all. Okay, this one involves a little science discussion. Maybe you're wondering why I'm going on and on about CBD. Our body produces some of the same compounds that are found in marijuana. They're called cannabinoids in marijuana. They're called endogenous endocannabinoids in your body. We produce them in a couple of places. Most of the cannabis receptors in the body are in your lower intestine and gut, and this really surprised doctors when we discovered this not too long ago. Doctors have started to wonder, take apart the endocannabinoid system. And one of the things they're fairly clear about what it's doing is it's regulating the autoimmune system. Therefore, when I can get a little, as a medical cannabis director, if I can get a little cannabis in that receptor site, I can improve the condition of people who have autoimmune system diseases like lupus, IBS, Crohn's, MS, MD, etc., etc. That's why Big Pharma is really into CBD. There's a company in England, it's called GW Pharmaceuticals. They have been in existence for about 15 years. They have hundreds of proprietary high CBD plants, and they're producing, for example, Sativex spray, which is in use in Europe and Canada for MS patients. It's 1/2 CBD and 1/2 THC. This is kind of an interesting little discussion. I like to tell people that my industry is being driven by the 24-year-old who wants to maximize the profits of his basement. 30 years ago, if you used cannabis in this country, you primarily were smoking landrace sativas, Mexican dirtweed. And that meant we had a lot of energy. We moved around with the stuff. Mexican dirtweed and sativas have some CBD in it. They also had some THC in it, so we did get a little high. But it was a fairly complete package. And over the course of the last 30 years, really started heavily during the Reagan years, as we shifted to indoor cannabis production, we shifted from these land-raised strains to big, dense, stupid bud. Really heavy intoxication, very impressive looking. It grows very fast. It can be grown in basements and produce good monetary value. And it's also devoid in CBD. So we've arrived at a position today where almost all modern cannabis strains are devoid in CBD. I have, over the last few years, been working on a strain of cannabis. It came out not too long ago. It's called Moto. Like the Israelis who developed a high CBD strain last year, my strain is almost 11% CBD, and it is so devoid in THC that it is currently regulated like lettuce under state law. I have a vision where a plant like this is in everybody's backyard, grown unregulated. For grandma to share around. You wouldn't be able to get stoned off it. It'd be very good for medicine, very good for pain management. It would stimulate one's autoimmune system, and I think it should be in everybody's backyard. Under I-502, thank you for voting, this is now as regulated as lettuce. There's still a couple of problems with it. It's not quite stabilized as a seed yet, so it's only available as a clone. But I see it as the wave of the future. And thank you very much.